Hi, I'm here with Dr. Anya Renashevska, professor at Georgia College and State University. Anya, it's really great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so before we get into kind of our topic of the day, I'd love to hear just a little bit of your backstory. I know you were a tennis player. Obviously, you're a professor as well. Give us just a little bit of a background on your bio and also kind of your level of play and your passion as a tennis player.
Yes, so I did play tennis a while back, and in Poland. It started all in Poland because I am from Poland. I won some, national championships, and I was number one at some point in various categories. And tried to play WTA Tour, not with much success. And then I decided to go to college and get education, use tennis to get education, and I got all three degrees, so undergrad, master's, and PhD at Florida State University, where I played tennis. And then I became a professor and I started to study marketing and some intersection of sports marketing and marketing.
Amazing, amazing. So yeah, you played at a high level. That's great. Um, and so why I really wanted to speak with you here today and kind of share your expertise with our community has a lot to do with what we've been thinking about as the intersection between social media as a very amazing opportunity for players to develop their brand. I think probably in history, never has it been more capable or more possible for one person to create a brand for themselves socially, globally. And I know
Right.
that's a real interest for our players. Our players, have a huge stage, a high platform, and I think strategically they're always looking to share their experience, share their story. So there's that incredible opportunity. But if you flip the coin over, there's also a really disturbing part of what players often experience through social media, whether it be cyberbullying, whether it be online gambling and betting, the vitriol, the threats, the
Hmm.
disparaging remarks, really can take a toll on mental health. And so, as the director of mental performance for the PTPA, I'm interested in helping our players feel their best, perform their best. We want to engage in high performance, but not at the cost of well-being. So I'm fascinated with sort of like your experience, your research as it pertains to this topic.
Yes, so big chunk of my research is on social media and how people respond to different brands. So I study both celebrities and influencers and institutions, right? And the response to what they do and how they present themselves online. So you're right, social media is a great opportunity when, we play tennis and the opportunity just wasn't there. We had to rely on traditional media, hoping that they will pick up our results or maybe run a story about us, especially, as you build a career, because once you're on top, there are plenty of stories, but as you build your brand, so to speak, who you are and what you represent, it was difficult to get the traditional media to pick up your stories. And as you know, being in the media has an effect on, sponsorships and financial opportunities there. So now with social media, we have this amazing opportunity for athletes to brand themselves and show who they are. And it is opportunity because they can connect with their fans and, communities. They can help communities. They can raise awareness, and with that, build their own brand and what they represent, who they are. So there's this human connection between them and the entire community of fans and other people around. At the same time, they become visible to sponsors, and with sponsors come the financial benefit of it, right? Which is important, right? Because tennis, as any sport, has an end at some point, and you will have to retire, unfortunately, no matter how good your physical physio team is. At some point, there comes an end to it. And so it allows for your legacy as an athlete, as a brand to continue for a very long time, and you can get benefit out of this. So you can use social media to connect, like I said, and that helps to show the world who you really are. So you don't have to rely on traditional media to write a story about you, but you can have an agency. You can decide how you want to present yourself to others, and that is so powerful because then you can be who you are. And we know from my study and other studies that this authenticity is what makes you so impactful. This show of who you are um, gives you credibility, and the fans connect with you on much deeper level. They develop relationships with you, right? At the same time, as every shiny object has a dull side, so there is a massive dark side to social media. And that being, when you lose, you may get tons of negative feedback. Suddenly, the fans that love you, they may have maybe bet money on you. And now it becomes problematic. They're upset. And so they start to lash out and criticize you and say really, really mean things. There we have cyberbullying, and even regular people who don't bet may, start becoming an expert, keyboard expert, and predict that it's the end of your career because you had a loss. So I think this, if when athletes see it, that can result in a reaction. And my studies suggest that it does, in fact, that it induces anxiety in athletes and it induces anger. So that has negative impact on their well-being. It feels like an identity threat. It feels like an attack on who you are. And so as you can imagine, and as you know, that has a pretty big effect, negative effect on how you feel about yourself. And so there is this problem, right? Because the opportunity of social media is to present who you are, your true self, but then at the same time, you become vulnerable to that true self becomes attacked, or, people start to attack it when things go wrong. And so that creates this sort of clash and results in negative effects on mental health. So we are in a situation when social media is both the opportunity and the threat. And we have to learn I say the athletes have to learn and have the tool set and toolkit to really cope with this, what to do. Because just avoiding social media would be great for mental health, but then you will miss the connection with your fans and the community and the sponsors and lose on the opportunity to brand yourself and reap financial benefits out of this, right? So we're seeing that there needs to be a lot of work done to help athletes both be able to brand themselves, to really take on this opportunity to show who they are, but at the same time protect their mental health, and then with that performance, right? So this is huge.
It is huge. I think it is one of the main challenges that I see and hear from many of the athletes that I work with. On one hand, we have some athletes that are creating their own YouTube channels, taking you inside their process on tour. And there are some financial benefits to being able to do that. Some are starting podcasts. But even in those cases, they're also dealing with a lot of negative commentary that kind of comes along with putting themselves out there. You mentioned studies that you've done already, celebrity studies. Mention a little bit about the anxiety that can come about. Are there any specific, uh, you know, details about your research that really kind of resonate and that you could share with us?
Yes, so on the athlete side, I found that this is a working paper right now. So I found that negative media, right? When media negatively portrayed athletes result in this sort of perception of negative identity threat, right?
Mm,
So we have negative media results in identity threat. That identity threat, the attack on who you feel you are, results in anxiety response. So you see that media and you're instantly feeling anxious. And that anxiety is a huge predictor of anger. And so you become angry. And now, as you imagine, when you sometimes anger, anger can be good, and some anxiety can be good to performance, but not the external kind, right? That's not a performance anxiety, but a external type of anxiety that you internalize. And so I found that there is a coping strategy in which athletes tend to engage, and that's not blocking, but well, blocking is one, and second is seeking out positive media. So I think it's
mm,
actually an opportunity for athletes to communicate with their truly loyal friends,
mhm,
friends and fans,
mhm,
to say, hey, I really need your support right now. I'm struggling, right? It's been tough loss. And we have seen some positive responses from fans. And I think this could be an opportunity for athletes to, rather than try to block out as much as possible the negativity, but try to kind of hold on to that positivity because that seemed to help.
mm. That's really interesting that you have also been able to create a coping mechanism there. And it makes perfect sense through the lens of mental performance to sort of accept, holistically what exists, but then to choose our response. And the response being, in this case, to lean in on the community that still does value and support the player. Yeah, that's a really nice strategy. I like how you also framed how that external anger ends up becoming internalized. That I think is a really, the self-talk of I'll show them, and this kind of like pushback and anger ends up becoming, kind of suboptimal inside of a human being, especially in a performance type of setting. So uh, in a way, I could see how the brand even improves by reaching out to the positive community and
Yeah.
being more authentic about how they're feeling. And a lot of times, I think that the fans, the community, they look at professional athletes as superheroes who don't have similar problems to them in life, and I can see that being a win-win as well, where they're sharing that they do have challenges and that their authenticity is coming out even more. So that's really really interesting. Where do you see both this field going? Maybe your interest in research, further research. How do we continue to make progress here and have a deeper understanding of what's really going on?
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, I want to continue with that path of research, and I hope to be able to access more athletes to, you know, learn about their experience to see, are there other factors affecting outcomes and how can we help? But I think it's really important that we further study the different responses of the fan community, and in
Hmm.
fact how fans can be supportive, but also how we can educate fans about those struggles and seeing athletes as human, not just out there as these you know entertainers only, right?
Hmm.
And then there's the second part, the professional organizations. We have massive professional organizations that need to support their athletes. We know that if media creates anxiety in our athletes, perhaps not forcing to do media appearances when athletes feel vulnerable or need some space, to give that space and allow them to return when they're feeling a little bit more, a little stronger. So I think there's sort of the three main pillars. We have to help athletes cope and
Hmm.
navigate social media and their own brand, and
Hmm.
then negativity on social media. Second, we need to educate and fans. We've seen
Hmm.
some of that, right? When athletes really showed the negativity that they get, they posted screenshots and they say how it impacts them. There was a positive response from a lot of fans, right? So if we educate that
Hmm.
there's a chance, I hope,
Hmm.
for positive feedback and some growth on both sides. And then third would be organizations. How can they help athletes cope and manage this difficult environment?
Those are really great pillars. Um, so theoretically, let's say you had access to some of the top tennis players in the world. What types of questions might you ask in a survey to those players?
Yeah, so without giving out too much,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely would ask about their experiences, their
Hmm.
sense of self, and how different media makes them feel, and what they feel
Hmm.
would help them, right? What can
Hmm.
we do? As in, I can't do much. I can study, but what can organizations do to help support them? And I think that would be a really beneficial study to both athletes and organizations, because organizations are supposed to support athletes.
Hmm. Very, very great stuff. I know as an association, I would be very grateful to learn some of what that study showed and shared. And for us, our mission is to safeguard and support men's and women's tennis players, globally. And so I think the PTPA would really love to know more about how we can do that. Your work sounds fascinating to me. And if there's anything we can do to support you, we'd be happy to do so. In the meantime, keep doing what you're doing. This is a mission that really is near and dear to our hearts, and it's something that I know is a huge problem. But it sounds like there are potential solutions that can help to mitigate what we're all experiencing right now. So Anya, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.